K-drama cycle here, and when Netflix dropped this news, no one was ready for the impact. Becky, stepping into the legacy of Nano, was not just a casting choice. It was a statement, and in 2026, it might become one of the boldest resets Netflix has ever attempted. For years, Girl From Nowhere has existed as more than a series. It became a cultural symbol. Nano wasn't just a character, she was an idea. A quiet judge. A mirror held up to society's darkest corners. So when whispers began that Netflix was planning a reset, most fans assumed it would be a reboot or perhaps a new character inspired by Nano's mythology. No one expected Becky. At first, the reaction was disbelief. Becky, known for her softness, emotional depth, and powerful screen presence alongside Freen, felt like the opposite of what fans imagined Nano's successor would be. But that disbelief quickly turned into curiosity, and then into something deeper. Because when fans looked closer, the choice started to make unsettling sense. Becky's strength has never been loud. It has always lived in restraint, in stillness, in the kind of calm that makes people uneasy because they can't predict what comes next. And that, insiders say, is exactly why Netflix made the call. This isn't a replacement. It's a transformation. According to early leaks, 2020 SIX's Girl From Nowhere reset doesn't aim to recreate Nano. It aims to evolve the concept. Becky's character is rumored to be less playful, less visibly cruel, but far more psychological. A presence that doesn't provoke chaos immediately, but lets people unravel themselves. And that's where the shock truly begins. Sources close to production describe Becky's version as quietly terrifying. A nanny-like figure. A caretaker. Someone who earns trust before dismantling it. Unlike Nano, who walked into schools as an outsider, Becky's character reportedly blends into homes, institutions, and private spaces, places where power dynamics are far more intimate. Fans have already started calling her the new Nano, but Netflix insiders insist that label is incomplete. This isn't about inheriting chaos. It's about redefining justice. And then there's Freen. Because while Netflix has not officially confirmed Freen's role, her name keeps appearing in every serious discussion surrounding the project. Not as a co-lead in the traditional sense, but as a counterbalance. A presence that grounds the story emotionally. Someone tied to Becky's character in ways that aren't immediately clear. That's where Freen Becky fans felt the ground shift. This isn't just another pairing. This is a dark, layered narrative where intimacy and morality collide. Leaks suggest their connection won't be romantic in a straightforward way. Instead, it's built on tension, history, shared secrets, the kind of bond that feels dangerous because it blurs the line between protector and accomplice. And for fans who have followed Freen Becky's journey, this represents a dramatic evolution, one that pushes both actresses into entirely new territory. Netflix's decision to make this move in 2026 is no accident. The platform has been aggressively redefining its Asian content strategy, leaning into darker, riskier narratives with global appeal. Girl From Nowhere already proved that moral storytelling transcends borders. Becky's takeover signals Netflix's belief that the story can go deeper and hit harder. Early internal reactions reportedly describe the reset as uncomfortable in the best way. Episodes are said to linger long after viewing. Less shock for shock sake, more slow-burning dread. The kind that forces audiences to question their own sense of justice. And that's why fans are divided. Some see this as sacrilege, a legacy too powerful to touch. Others see it as necessary evolution. Because Nano was never meant to stay the same forever. And Becky. Becky might be the only actress capable of carrying that weight without copying what came before. As 2026 approaches, one thing is clear, Netflix didn't just drop a bomb. They rewrote the rules. And whether fans are ready or not, Girl From Nowhere is about to enter its most dangerous era yet. Because when the face of judgment changes, the punishment usually does too. K-drama cycle here, and the deeper you look into this 2026 reset, the clearer it becomes that Netflix is not chasing nostalgia, they're chasing impact. As more details slowly surfaced, insiders began to emphasize one key point. This version of Girl From Nowhere is not designed to shock quickly. It's designed to unsettle slowly. And Becky's role sits at the very center of that discomfort. Her character doesn't arrive with chaos. She arrives with calm. with kindness, with the kind of presence that feels safe enough to let your guard down. That's what makes her dangerous. Unlike Nano, who often entered spaces as a disruption, Becky's character reportedly enters as a solution. A helper, a caretaker, someone trusted by authority figures and welcomed into private spaces. Schools, homes, elite institutions, places where control is subtle and abuse hides behind respectability. And instead of exposing wrongdoing immediately, she waits. She observes. She lets people reveal themselves. This shift alone changes the emotional temperature of the series. Because now, the audience isn't watching a character punish evil from the outside. They're watching someone become part of the system, long enough to dismantle it from within. The moral questions grow heavier. The lines blur. Viewers are no longer asked to cheer justice. They're forced to sit with it. And Becky, according to early reactions, plays this with terrifying restraint. No exaggerated expressions. No dramatic monologues. Just stillness, silence, and eyes that seem to know more than they should. Crew members have reportedly described moments on set where her performance made the room uncomfortable, not because of violence, but because of how quietly she held power. This is where longtime fans began to understand why Netflix took the risk. Becky isn't replacing Nano's energy. She's subverting it. And then there's the emotional anchor of the story, the role Freen is rumored to occupy. Leaks suggest Freen's character isn't there to oppose Becky outright, nor to mirror her. Instead, she exists in the gray space between understanding and denial. Someone who sees what Becky is doing, but doesn't fully stop it. Someone whose closeness complicates everything. Their relationship isn't built on romance in the traditional sense. It's built on shared silence, unresolved history, and moral compromise. That's what has shaken the Freen Becky fandom the most. Because this isn't comfort viewing. This is tension. Scenes are rumored to linger on moments where nothing is said, but everything is understood. Where loyalty becomes a question rather than a virtue. Where love, if it exists at all, feels dangerous because it enables as much as it protects. Netflix insiders have hinted that this dynamic is intentional. The reset is meant to challenge the audience's emotional instincts, to make viewers question who they're rooting for and why, to expose how easily we justify wrongdoing when it comes from someone we care about. And suddenly, Girl from Nowhere is no longer just about punishment. It's about complicity. That's why reactions have been so polarized. Some fans are already calling this the boldest move Netflix Asia has ever made. Others are openly nervous, afraid that touching Nano's legacy risks breaking something sacred. But even the most critical voices agree on one thing: ignoring this project is impossible. Every leak fuels debate. Every rumor sparks theory threads. Every shadowy still image sends fans spiraling. Because this reset doesn't feel like a continuation, it feels like a confrontation. With the audience, with morality, with the idea that justice is clean and satisfying. As 2026 draws closer, one truth is becoming undeniable: Netflix didn't choose Becky to soften Girl from Nowhere. They chose her to make it more intimate, more psychological, and far more unsettling than before. And if the original series asked, "What do people deserve?" this version seems to ask something far more uncomfortable. What do we allow when the monster looks like someone we trust? This isn't just a new chapter. It's a warning. And the most terrifying part, she doesn't need to announce herself anymore. She's already inside. K-drama cycle here, and as the conversation around this 2026 reset grows louder, one thing becomes impossible to deny. This version of Girl from Nowhere is no longer asking viewers to sit comfortably on the sidelines. It's pulling them in. More leaks suggest that the storytelling this time is structured differently. Episodes don't resolve cleanly. Consequences don't arrive on schedule. Instead of a clear beginning, middle, and punishment, the narrative reportedly circles back on itself, forcing viewers to reevaluate earlier scenes with new understanding. What once looked harmless suddenly feels complicit. What once felt kind begins to look calculated. And at the center of it all is Becky's character, quiet, observant, and always one step ahead. What's chilling is how ordinary she appears. No dramatic entrances. No signature smile like Nano's. She blends into the background so completely that even the audience begins to forget to watch her closely. And that, insiders say, is the point. This version of judgment doesn't announce itself. It embeds. It waits. It watches people make choices again and again until the truth reveals itself without force. Netflix executives reportedly pushed hard for this interpretation because it mirrors real-world harm more closely. Evil doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it arrives wearing kindness, patience, and familiarity. And Becky's performance leans fully into that realism, never overplaying, never signaling too early what she truly represents. The result is deeply unsettling. Test audiences have reportedly described feeling conflicted after episodes ended. Not shocked, not scared in the traditional sense, but uneasy, unsure who they sympathized with, unsure whether justice had even been served or whether it should have been. And that's where Freen's rumored role becomes even more crucial. Her character is said to represent the audience's moral hesitation. She sees red flags. She senses something is wrong. But like many people in real life, she hesitates. She rationalizes. She chooses silence over confrontation. Her closeness to Becky's character doesn't come from manipulation. It comes from familiarity, trust, and emotional dependence. That dynamic turns every interaction between them into a quiet battle, not of power, but of conscience. Scenes are rumored to stretch uncomfortably long, with pauses where no one speaks, where glances linger, where the weight of what isn't said becomes heavier than dialogue. These moments are reportedly where both actresses deliver their strongest performances, subtle, restrained, and emotionally devastating. This is where Freen Becky fans begin to realize something important. This story isn't here to comfort them. It's here to challenge them. Because the bond between these two characters isn't designed to be aspirational. It's designed to be examined. To ask how easily affection can blur accountability. How loyalty can become a shield for harm. How silence, when repeated often enough, becomes participation. Netflix insiders have hinted that the final episodes of the season don't offer closure in the way fans expect. There's no single villain exposed. No clean moral victory. Instead, the ending reportedly forces viewers to sit with unresolved consequences, mirroring the reality that many injustices never receive satisfying conclusions. And that's why this reset matters. It doesn't erase Nano's legacy. It questions it. It asks whether justice should always look theatrical, whether punishment should always be visible, whether fear is more effective than intimacy. And Becky's character stands as the embodiment of that question. As 2026 approaches, anticipation continues to build, not because fans know what's coming, but because they don't. This is uncharted territory, a familiar world reimagined through a lens that feels disturbingly close to home. And perhaps that's the most shocking truth of all. This isn't the story of a girl from nowhere anymore. It's the story of someone who could be anywhere, someone who feels safe, someone we let in. And by the time we realize who she is, it's already too late.